Macabrepedia deals with dark subject matter that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. January 14th, 1845, a bitterly cold night in Worcester County, Massachusetts. Orrin de Wolf, an 18-year-old stable attendant, is amongst a small group of men crowded in a loft above Whipple's stables. The group watches pensively as the doctor, Benjamin Haywood, examines the unresponsive and twisted form of Mr. William Stiles. The doctor places his fingers along the jawline of the man. De Wolf twists a red handkerchief nervously in his pocket. Dr. Haywood looks to De Wolf and the other few gathered there before pronouncing William Stiles as dead. With a strain swallowed, De Wolf hands the handkerchief to the doctor. Today we are compiling the evidence and testimony of those who would later take the stand against Orrin de Wolf for the murder of William Stiles. We invite you to stay and listen as we add another entry into this, our Macabrepedia.
Hello, and welcome to Macabrepedia, a marriage of true crime and the truly bizarre. We're your hosts, Marissa
And Matthew.
And today we'll be exploring what?
Today we will be exploring the death of William Stiles of Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. Most of the information that is being compiled here or being referenced here comes to us from the trial of Orrin de Wolf for the murder of William Stiles at Worcester, January 14th, 1845, from the Making of Modern Law print edition, trials 1600 to 1926. This has mostly seems to be kind of almost everything from news articles to court testimony. It has quite a few things. It's kind of the only source that you can find for this particular trial. The town of Shrewsbury is east to the city of Worcester.
Not spelled how you think.
Well, yeah, Worcester is Worcester.
Yeah, if you're not a northerner.
Yeah, if you're not from Massachusetts, you may get that wrong. But it is... it's in the county of the same name. It's located in kind of like central Massachusetts. Worcester is a much larger city than Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury is, at the time, the population was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 1,400 to 1,500 people. It's a small kind of rural community that primarily sustained itself, like its businesses and everything. It didn't really export or import any particular amount or have anything of note, really.
You will pass it on the way back to South Carolina from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, just FYI.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's a lot of reason to stop there. I mean, it's a small town, Massachusetts. It has a decent amount of history, just like pretty much every place in Massachusetts seems to. Shrewsbury was most notable for its very pretty lake that they have, and it played host to Shays' Rebellion in 1787.
And what was Shays' Rebellion?
Not a topic for this particular podcast, but basically Shays' Rebellion was an uprising that happened in response to basically taxation and charges that were being levied against those who had fought during the Revolution and the American Revolution, and were thought to be, well, we're international, babe. This is filling in that handful of that Germans.
One person in Germany who listens to us.
But yeah, so anyways, Shays' Rebellion was a group of like farmers and property owners who thought that they were being unfairly charged and taxed for their lands and decided to have an armed uprising. So they went and tried to raid the armory of Springfield, Massachusetts, gather some weaponry there, and then try to take, do what revolutionaries do and cause a rebellion. And it was squashed. And pretty much everyone was slapped around and told to go home. And if you want more on that, I don't know. go.
I figured, I mean, if you call it a rebellion in history, generally it wasn't very
Yeah,
successful.
that's the losing side. Yeah. Revolution is the winning side. Yeah. Rebellion is the losing side.
They slapped that right down.
Yeah, so a few of the leaders were like executed and stuff, but it kind of seemed like it was mostly just like, all right, knock it off. We're not rebelling on every taxation every 15 years. Stop it. Go home.
A taxation without representation is getting old, guys.
Yeah, we already did that one. Yeah. But so anyway, so that's
stop throwing tea in the harbor, please.
That's pretty much all that it was for that one. But that is not the subject of today's way off story. Shrewsbury. That's the macro location of where the story takes place. Now, let's introduce some of the players. So first off, we have William Stiles, the soon-to-be murdered William Stiles, presumably murdered William Stiles, a roughly 50-year-old humped-backed alcoholic described as being in poor health. He's described as being humped-back. He was known around town, or at least by those of poor taste, as being Humpy Stiles. And he was in his mid-50s or early to mid-50s. He had inherited a small estate after the death of his father, also I believe William Stiles. With the helping allure of his inheritance, Mr. Stiles, at the age of 33, married the 16-year-old, the then 16-year-old, Eliza Ann. I believe it was Tucker was her maiden name, but that's not particularly important, I guess, for this particular story. Eliza Ann and William, though presumably in a somewhat loveless marriage, they do end up having a child, a son by the name of Edward. William Stiles was known around town as kind of being a drunkard and a waster of money. So much was his spending that the local selectmen put his inheritance in a trust, which I don't know exactly how much you need to be spending in order to have the town council vote to give you an allowance and take your money.
That's not really a common thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was reported that he apparently had squandered like 2/3 of his at the time with inflation and everything. It was kind of with like actual funds, not including what maybe like the property was worth or what it was actually like churning out or anything like that. It was like 70,000, 75,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was like at their time it was like $1,500 in funds, and put that into Google, it comes out to like 72, 75,000. But that again, it was a decent chunk of change, but I also assume that this property also produced something that is not ever mentioned in the source material. Again, he had squandered all that money. I don't know the details of how much spending it would take before the government steps in to stop you, but this did happen. It may have happened on the behest of his wife, Eliza Ann Stiles, or perhaps one of the other living members of the Stiles family. Again, it's not particularly clear, but regardless of the circumstances, the estate of Mr. Stiles was held by the selectmen of Shrewsbury in probate. His property and affairs were taken care of, and Mr. Stiles was provided something of an allowance to utilize however he wished. So another key player in this story, also in the title, is Orrin de Wolf.
I wonder when we're going to get to him.
Well, now is the answer to that. So Orrin de Wolf was a young man who was at the time working at Whipple's stable as a holster.
And that is?
It might be a holster. Whatever. I think it's holster. But it's a person who tends to horses that are generally at the stables. He's kind of like a valet who has to feed your car. So yeah, he runs the stables that is connected to a hotel and a restaurant kind of establishment. And to the best of my knowledge, Orrin was not from Shrewsbury, but had been there for at least 6 months or so. So de Wolf was working at Whipple's stables, which again seemed to be serviced by. It seems to service both a neighboring inn as well as a restaurant called the Fripp and Dodds. I say the Fripp and Dodds. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it's two people, Fripp and Dodds, and they decided to go on a partnership and open a restaurant.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So on the night of January 14th, again in the title, at about 6 p.m., de Wolf comes to Fripp and Dodds and asks his friend Samuel Stone to watch the stable. So while he takes Stiles out on a spree,
So a night out on the town.
Yeah, so just to go get ripped. So Stone was he was working at Fripp and Dodds as the kitchen colonel, which is a great name for what I believe to be like a kitchen manager.
Oh, that's excellent. I like that.
So Stone says he'll watch the stables while de Wolf takes Stiles out and goes and does whatever. So he agrees to keep an eye on the stables for a few hours while de Wolf and Stiles go out on their spree. De Wolf loads up a sleigh. Remember, this is rural Massachusetts in January. The roads were certainly better equipped to handle skis rather than wheels for those who have never seen a massive amount of snow. Yeah, makes sense to have a sleigh. Also, and other things that I found, like, it seemed to come up fairly often that Shrewsbury, the northern part of Shrewsbury, had like this upper class group of people who always bitched about the roads.
Because they didn't have the right sleigh.
Well, it was probably not all. It's also not always snowing in Massachusetts, so there is times when wheels do work. So de Wolf and Stiles went to a bar. They had a couple of drinks, and then they got back into the sleigh, hit a couple other stops, one of which was Coblay's Tavern. Here, Orrin went to the barkeep and provided a bottle of gin, saying if Stiles orders a drink, pour it from this bottle. While at Coblay's, Stiles did order gin, which was given to him from presumably that bottle, in which Orrin had provided to the establishment. It is not common to bring your own beer to a tavern.
No, certainly not now. I mean, that would be a little suspicious nowadays.
Yeah, and assuming that we don't understand all of the normal traditions of people of that time period, this is still a little unusual to do, I think. I don't think it's like something where you like, hey, I'm going to get hammered, and every time I call for a drink, give it to me from my bottle. No, I don't think that's normal.
I mean, that's kind of their job, as in like a bar, is to provide that. So.
I think it would be just as weird as you going into a bar now and giving them the stuff you want to drink and then making them serve you. 10 p.m., Orrin de Wolf returned to the Fripp and Dodds, seeking out Samuel Stone, who was watching the stables. Orrin comes into the kitchen and he's in kind of a bit of a panic, according to those who had seen him. And he says to Stone that he needs help getting Stiles up to the loft. Now, Stone, according to later testimony, says he doesn't have time to leave at the moment, which forced de Wolf to go seek out help from another friend, a Mr. Benjamin Baldwin. So de Wolf goes and finds Benjamin Baldwin, and the two men go to the sleigh. They get Mr. Stiles, and they carry him up to the loft of Whipple's stable. So at this point, Stiles is alive, and he's kind of like weakly protesting being carried up to this loft, and later testimonies will say that he was asking to go home, and de Wolf kept telling him like, you'll be home soon, don't worry about it, like kind of calming him down, just being like, let's just chill. And Baldwin, later taking the stand, says that he asks de Wolf, why are we not just bringing him home? And de Wolf says, well, I don't want to bring him home because I don't want Mrs. Stiles to have to deal with him like this, which...
Yeah, fair.
Right, yeah. If you're super hammered and stuff, and you were just going, if you're a decent friend, I don't know if you necessarily want to go ahead and just drop your buddy off at your wife's feet and be like, well,
you deal with him.
It got out of hand.
Yeah.
My bad. Gonna go jump in my sleigh. So yeah, I mean, you can take that however you like. So they get him up there. They put him into the cot that's at the top of the loft, and I'm assuming that there's like an upstairs where there's kind of like this like break room kind of area for like the overnight staff,
like an on-call room.
Yeah, kind of like an on-call for people who may need their horses immediately that night or something.
Hey, it happens.
I don't know the ins and outs of this. And, this is maybe one of those things that Whipple's provided over the other competing stables.
It's one of their perks.
All night service. So anyways, so they bring him up there. They put him in the bed. At around this time, this is when Stone is able to pull himself away from his duties in the kitchen. And again, this is like 10 o'clock. So he shows up and he's asking de Wolf kind of the same line of questions as Baldwin is like, why is he here? Why are we not bringing him home? And again, de Wolf's like, well, look, I don't want to do that. He'll be fine. Let's just chill out and let him sit here for a little while. So once Stone arrives, Baldwin leaves. And a few minutes after that, Stone leaves, goes back to his kitchen colonel duties. At about 10:30, so 30, 40 minutes later, de Wolf comes back into the Frippen Dodds. Again, it's not the Frippen Dodds, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I should check to see if that's still around or when it closed.
It sounds like a Harry Potter store, actually.
Okay.
Frippen Dodds. You guys buy your best wands there.
At 10:30, de Wolf enters Frippen Dodds, requesting salted water for Mr. Stiles. Not exactly sure why he would have salted water. I don't know if that's just kind of like a hangover cure or...
I mean, that's going to cause you some major intestinal issues.
If you drink enough of it, but if you're dehydrated or you're getting sick on yourself, it's the same thing as like as a runner, taking your electrolytes to kind of try to balance that off. It could help. I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're if you're dehydrated, you should not drink salt water. Don't do that.
Not like a gallon of salt water, not like drinking it from the ocean.
If you're in the ocean and there's a lot of water around you and it's all salt water, do not touch it. You will die.
Don't drink salt water. Generally, yes,
shit yourself to
but
death.
a little bit of salt in water could help you kind of balance your electrolytes. We do it as runners all the time.
I trust you. I don't know. Go ahead.
Also, if they did have enough of it, it could cause projectile vomiting and diarrhea, which, again, this is 1845. So medical science is still kind of Galenic, heroic medicine kind of stuff where it's like, oh, you're not feeling well. Oh, you drank too much. Then we'll take that out and everything else that's willing to come with it. So just,
well, maybe
all of a sudden you're just, a little bit of throw up or a little bit of diarrhea is possibly good. When you're trying to clear your system, a lot of diarrhea is probably better. That's the medical know-how of the 1845.
Well, we're not doctors, but just saying, don't drink a lot of salt water.
Yeah, well, okay.
Don't do it.
So yeah, that's true too. But in 1845, most people who were doctors were trained at I think it was either Harvard or someplace in Boston, either Boston College or Harvard Medical. And they only took in like a handful of students. And even then, even if you were a doctor, you were generally a doctor and something else. So you could be like a doctor and a lawyer or a doctor and a cobbler. Like you weren't like a full-time doctor. That wasn't really something that was that.
It's weird. I mean, it's weird to think about now.
Yeah, because it's like super high-end freaking stuff at this point.
It takes a lot of schooling to do that.
Yeah, but they only allowed like a certain number of students to come in, and then this is a total tangent, but like...
that part hasn't changed for Harvard.
At the time, it was like 70 people, though. And again, this also comes into like how many cadavers could you get and do autopsies on and stuff like that. Yeah. So all that comes into play too. But there was the Worcester Medical Society that was founded around the same time or just shortly before this, which was it's still in practice now, but that was kind of like another doctor. It's like a doctor club, I guess. It's like a club of doctors who kind of all share their medical knowledge to try to make everybody better doctors. But again, that's here nor there. But
I mean, I guess that was a good idea at the time.
Yeah. But again,
still a good day.
And you'll find out later when we get into later parts of the story, like some of the stuff that like the autopsy from one of the doctors is like pretty in depth. Now, not being a doctor, I have no idea if the autopsy that he's doing is correct in any way, shape, or form, or the conclusions that he draws are correct in any way, shape, or form. But he does know a lot of things, which has to mean something, right?
Well, maybe to them. I mean, we're not a pathologist or a pathologist, but like
got nothing. I took I got to anatomy 2 at a community college, and that was about the end of it. So, but anyways, don't drink salt water and get a doctor who's not just part of a club, but maybe also went to school.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah, I am not exactly sure why he opted for the salt water. Point of this was that 3 patrons who were in the Frippen Dodd, who were in Fripp and Dodds.
I swear to God, it's no, it's not the wand place. I feel like Fripp and Dodds would be like the place that sells broomsticks. I'm going to settle on that.
So you can tune into Marissa's Harry Potter podcast when she decides to put that up there. So anyways, 3 patrons end up hearing that that de Wolf has got somebody up in the loft. And they decide, oh, well, we're going to go check it out. Because, you know, when you see somebody stumbling around at a bar and they're just like shitty and throwing up on themselves and, you know, just acting a fool, there is a portion of a crowd that wants to go watch those people be sick on themselves.
Yeah.
I was part of those crowds. Big fan of watching people make mistakes.
Not me.
Well, you missed out on some laughs, I promise.
I'm sure.
So 3 of the patrons from the tavern go with de Wolf to see Stiles. When de Wolf and the 3 men from the tavern return to the loft, Stiles is motionless and completely unresponsive. Stiles lays on the cot. He's facing upwards towards the rafter. He's got his legs hanging off either side of the cot, and his eyes are half opened and staring towards the ceiling. At this point, one of the men breaks the kind of shared silence and says, "You better go fetch a doctor. This man looks dead. If he's not, he will be soon." Which, this is close enough to Boston that it may have been better fetch a doctor. But anyways, so de Wolf decides, with the encouragement of those who were there, to go and fetch a doctor. So he goes to the home of Dr. Benjamin Haywood. Not Benjamin Baldwin. This is another Benjamin. So Benjamin Haywood, hereafter referred to as Dr. Haywood. He goes to this guy's house. Keep in mind, it's at this point, it's probably close to probably by the time he gets there, 11:30 at night. And he goes to Dr. Haywood, who is 68 years old and probably sleeping at this point. And he's trying to get him to go. And he says, like, you have to come help this guy. I think he's dead. To which, this is actually in his testimony, Haywood says, if he's dead, you don't need a doctor. You need a coroner.
Coroner.
Yeah,
that was a bad accent.
He's not from Boston, and he probably didn't have that accent.
Well,
but you don't need a doctor; you need a coroner. So, so he tries to get out of it, and de Wolf's like, "Well, I don't know if he's dead, whatever." So, anyways, long story short, Haywood goes with de Wolf back to the stables. Starts examining the body. The other guys who are there are kind of like, hey, we're going to split at this point because we're pretty sure how this examination is going to come out. So, bye. But but before they leave, one of the guys says to de Wolf, probably best if you just say that you found him on the road. And that's kind of where de Wolf goes with that. So they all leave. The doctor is checking him out, checking Stiles out. He's doing an examination. He starts checking for, I guess he's checking a pulse and all that stuff. But during so, he gets kind of close to Stiles' neck, at which point de Wolf pulls a red handkerchief out of his pocket, and he hands it to the doctor. And the doctor looks at it and he says, well, what's this? And he says, well, it was tied around his neck really tight, and I loosened it in the hopes that he would breathe better.
What is he doing messing? No,
Well, he was taking care of him to begin with when him and Baldwin brought him up there.
Okay, sure.
They were
He's
tucking
him
in.
breathe better. Gotcha.
Yeah, take the shoes off. He didn't actually. It doesn't say he took his shoes off, but that's the things you do. You take you try to make him comfortable. Calm down, chill out. We'll bring you home soon. Puke into this bucket.
Drink your salt water.
And all the careful remedies that you do. Hold your hair back, whatever. So he gives him the handkerchief, to which Haywood just kind of waves it away. He's just like, whatever, I don't care. But he says in response to that, he's like, whatever. This guy's dead. We need a coroner, like I said. Coroner. So he takes him. I believe Haywood then leaves. Stiles and de Wolf are still in the loft. Haywood leaves to go get the coroner. Coroner. So soon after, another person shows up in the loft. So this is one of the patrons from from the inn next door. He shows up.
Wait, why didn't they take him to the inn? If there was an inn right next door, why'd they take him to the stable? They could have taken him to the inn. Just seems like a much more comfortable.
I've had friends that were in a similar level of intoxication, and I didn't even bring them inside.
They didn't make the right choice.
I didn't even bring them inside. I put a blanket over them in the middle of their lawn, and it was like good damn enough. Like, so the fact he got him there is okay. He's not gonna buy the guy a hotel room. He'll be fine. You sit in the haymow and you sober your ass up before I bring you back and have to explain this to your wife. I won't make you get yelled at while you're drunk, but you're still gonna have some splaining to do, and I ain't gonna go foot the bill at a hotel.
No, that's fair.
No. So anyways, so one of the patrons from this inn ends up coming back to the stables. There's nobody there to help him with his horse or whatever. He goes up to this loft and finds de Wolf sitting there at a table, and he's reading a newspaper and just sitting in front of this corpse that is now lying on this cot, who appears to have been kind of manipulated in some ways. Like, his legs are both on the cot at this point. He now has what is referred to as a buffalo in a couple of times, a buffalo under his head, which I'm assuming is some kind of pillow. I don't think it's an actual buffalo, or they were all like Thai Beanie Baby collectors.
That'd be awkward.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's like a colloquialism for like bouffon or some kind of like hand warmer or something like that. But anyways, his head's up there, and tied around his neck is a red handkerchief.
What is this? What is Orrin doing?
He's helping it. He's trying to make him presentable. He's trying to make him. If the guy died, at least he'd make him look a little. Now he has to like put his shoes back on. Tighten his
all I'm
stuff
saying
back up.
is this is a little suspicious.
I don't see why you would think that.
Why would I think
Orrin
that?
is doing his due diligence to help this man who all he wanted to do is have a night on the town, and Orrin's doing the best he can to help him out. So this guy comes up, gives the same round of questioning as to that probably everybody so far has had with Orrin. And Orrin sticks to the advised script, which was, I found him in the snow, and I decided to take him here because this was the best place for him. I don't know. He's just some wasted dude.
Dummy.
That's what he was told by one of his elders.
He shouldn't have listened. I mean, he clearly had him before that. He took a bottle of his own booze to the bar. Like, no. No, he's dumb.
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts.
He's a dummy.
These are the facts as presented by
Orrin's
the
dumb.
testimony of everybody except for Orrin so far.
All right, let's keep going.
So Orrin's still a fine, upstanding young lad, 18 years of age, just trying to make his way in this tough world of frozen, frigid-ass Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts, by the way, guys. So this is not Massachusetts mockery and from anywhere other than a place of longing and love. But so this guy comes in, gives him the same round of questionings. At this point, he's locked in to his alibi being, I found this guy in the snow, brought him up here, had the doctor come by, the coroner's on the way. This guy died like this. Now enter Asa Matthews, the coroner.
Hey.
The coroner of Shrewsbury.
Finally.
But so the coroner shows up, and before we get into that, let's take a quick commercial break. This week's sponsor is the crushing guilt and sadness that comes from not being sure if you are balancing your life in accordance to the desires of your loved ones. Do you feel like your every decision is harshly judged by those around you? This may be at work, in a relationship, amongst your friends, or even the time you put into or don't put into a passion project. Well, that's thanks to this week's sponsor, Unreasonable Guilt. Never allowing you to feel the peace of mind that your desires and decisions make everyone else happy. That, in fact, everything you are and do is letting someone else down. Thanks, crushing guilt. Where would we be without you?
Happier.
Seriously, though, live your happiness. Those who want to be happy with you will be there for you, and you can likewise be there for them if you are truly happy with your path in life. You are probably better than you give yourself credit for, so follow your passions, be happy.
Surround yourself with people who see your worth.
And if you would like to make a podcast about that journey, you can check out Buzzsprout, which is the podcasting host that we use here at Macabrepedia. It's very easy. It hits all of the podcatchers, and it is affordable. A great catalog of helpful videos and podcasts, and they are there to try to make your podcast as good as possible. And also, if you are following the link in the show notes, that lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you, and you will get a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan. That also helps support the show. That can help you get some new gear, get started with sound, treating your rooms, all kinds of different stuff there, obviously. But no, Buzzsprout is very easy to use. It is a great host for podcasting, and it does have a lot of cool bells and whistles. They definitely help with affiliate links and getting your podcast put out there. It's really awesome. Go check it out. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. And of course, like I said, the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed in doing so. So check out the affiliate link in the show notes, and best of luck to you. And of course, if you do start a podcast based upon this affiliate link, definitely reach out to us and let us know that we did so we can subscribe. Shortly after midnight, enter the last of our major players, Asa Matthews, coroner of Shrewsbury. Coroner of Shrewsbury.
I like the name.
Asa Matthews? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good name. That's why I use his whole name. He's not going to. He will not be Mr. Matthews. No, he will be Asa Matthews. Private Eye. So Asa Matthews, he heads upstairs to find de Wolf. Again, he's sitting at this table. He's reading a newspaper. As previously described,
being not at all suspicious.
Stiles is laid out, seemingly comfortable, head up on a pillow or a buffalo. I don't know, whatever. And
let's just think from now on he's on a buffalo.
Like an actual buffalo. Yes. Full size, just a half a ton of freaking bison
hanging out there.
They're always there. Every doctor, when they go to get the coroner, they're like, they put him on top of a giant buffalo, and the buffalo just coos.
That is now canon.
It's big, musty oxen coos.
What sound does buffalo make?
I don't know. This ain't Dances with Wolves. Come on.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so so Asa comes in. He does kind of a similar examination as to Dr. Haywood, and while he's doing that, he removes the red handkerchief from around Stiles' neck, revealing a faint red mark under the ears.
This handkerchief's quite the major player.
Yeah, some would say it's a possible murder weapon. Dun, dun, dun. So when de Wolf sees Asa Matthews taking the handkerchief off of the neck, he quickly asks, is there going to be a jury requested?
Oh, come on, man.
He's scared. Asa Matthews says to de Wolf's inquiry, well, Dr. Haywood says that he chilled through. Is there something else to this story that would require us getting a jury? And of course, de Wolf's like, no, that's it. Found him frozen on the side of the street there, put him in the sleigh, brought him up here, tried to warm him up, gave him some salt water. I don't know if he told him that because
why? So hypothermic, I guess, is what he's trying to say. Yeah.
So he had chilled through and effectively died from that. Asa Matthews says, okay, well, that is what it is. So it looks like he's obviously dead. So we'll take him back to his house and let his wife know. So he says to de Wolf, who, he has a sleigh, it's loaded up, he's got the horse and everything, I guess. I don't know. This part's a little bit, I don't know exactly why they did this, but I don't know if, did we ever find out it was a holster or holster? It is a hostler, Hostler.
Okay.
Or maybe hostler. I don't know. We still don't know how to pronounce it. But anyway, Hostler.
Borgin and Burks. That's what I was thinking about.
What?
Okay, so when you were talking about Frippendodds, and I said Harry Potter stuff, and I I was thinking Borgin and Burke's, which is like the shady place in Nocturne Alley. Which is like off of
where
Diagon
the cabinet
Alley.
thing is.
Yeah.
Okay, spoilers.
Dark magic stuff.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Anyway, yeah,
spoilers.
that's what I would call it.
And
then.
also, you can also come here for Shay's Rebellion and spoilers for the Harry Potter series. God damn.
Anyway, get back to it.
Okay, so I don't even remember where the hell we were now.
I don't know.
Oh,
Borgin
yeah.
Burke's.
So anyways, I don't know if like hostlers also just ran taxi services, if that could also be a way where Stiles could have hired him for the spree. And then also if you need a body moved, you call the hostler and he just chucks it in the back. So anyways, de Wolf has to bring this body back to the house, back to the Stiles residence. So who does he get to do so? Well, Samuel Stone, the kitchen colonel of Fripp and Dodds.
Oh, the Colonel again.
The Colonel, bring in the Colonel. So they go, so the two of them, Stone and de Wolf, which they sound like villains, don't they? Mm-hmm. De Wolf and Stone.
Especially when you know one of them's nicknamed the Colonel.
He's not nicknamed the Colonel, it's his actual position.
I don't care, he's going to be the Colonel. The Colonel and de Wolf.
So anyways, so they go and they take they take the body of Stiles back to the Stiles residence where they meet up with Eliza Ann Stiles. She lets them in. They bring in the body. They set it up wherever they're supposed to set it up. And then almost immediately after they put the body down, de Wolf and Mrs. Stiles suddenly disappear off into a adjacent closet to the main room.
What?
For like 5 minutes.
What?
They're in there for like 5 minutes.
What?
He's expressing his condolences for her
for
loss.
5 long minutes.
Come
on.
You don't just say, well, he's dead, bye.
By yourself? No. Something's going on here.
What do you mean? He's just, all he did was bring in a body and he's like, hey, sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Let's go back in this private room where we can talk for 5 long minutes.
5 long, that's a very short amount of time. Whatever.
You can do a lot in 5 minutes.
Whoa, hey now, giving away my bedroom secrets.
Shut up.
So after leaving the Stiles residence, Stone would later recall in his testimony that de Wolf was complaining that he should have never have helped Stiles, that he should have just left him where he found him on the road and just let him freeze to death because now he's going to be blamed for all this. And he was super worried that he was going to go down for this. And this is Stone saying this to the jury. What's on your face? What are you doing?
He should have let him freeze to death. Isn't that their story? As opposed to what?
Well, Stone knows. Stone knows.
Okay.
Stone knew that he had brought him up because
he shouldn't have taken him into the on-call room area.
Yeah, he should have just let him die on the road rather than to mess
yeah,
around.
Maybe he should have.
Yeah, well, Stone is saying that he's really worried about it. He's going to get blamed for this stuff. Stone knew that Stiles was on a spree with de Wolf because de Wolf came in at 6 o'clock and asked Stone to watch the stables for him. So he's not messing up his story. Stone knows the story because Stone's there. Stone is a ride or die guy with this dude. He'll help you care for a dead man. He'll do your job.
He's a good friend.
He'll help you bring the body back home after he's dead. He's the man.
You want him in your back pocket.
So at this point, everyone, again, de Wolf is a little nervous that all this is going to come back and be more than it should be because obviously nothing happened. It was a night that got a little out of hand. Everyone's had their friend that dies on them in some shady bathroom somewhere. This is just another day in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. It gets rowdy out there. That's not true. So they
keep a whole herd of buffalo just for this.
Yeah, there's just chock full of them. So
just in case.
So at this point, de Wolf is nervous, but apparently Asa Matthews, this whole situation isn't sitting well with either. So he starts asking around. And he meets up with the guys who had been there the night before and kind of saw this all unfold. He starts hearing different stories of how Stiles and de Wolf knew each other and how de Wolf had even referred to him as Old Humpy Stiles. Digging further Asa
That's not
Matthews.
nice.
No, it's not very nice. He has kyphosis, which is the curvature of the spine that makes you look like you have a humpback. But he was also considered to be in poor health, as Asa Matthews would find out through interviewing other locals, that Orrin de Wolf had made mention that upon Stiles, Mr. William Stiles' death, Eliza Ann Stiles and de Wolf were going to split the remaining amount of Stiles's inheritance. Yeah, that deserves a Because up until this point, hasn't really been much of a connection between the two. So he continues to kind of dig through. He finds out that de Wolf had been staying with the Stiles when he first got his job at Whipple's stable. He obviously knew Stiles more than just, it's some guy I found on the road.
No, it sounds like Stiles helped him out.
So Matthews, he calls a fucking jury.
Well, yeah.
At this point, he says, hey, you know what? That jury ain't sounding so bad right now. So he does get a jury. And long story short, de Wolf gets arrested. Again, de Wolf wasn't like hiding out or anything like that. So they get de Wolf, they bring him to prison, they lock him up. While he's there, de Wolf starts asking to meet with Asa Matthews. They kind of start chit-chatting a little bit. The long and short of it is de Wolf is asking, okay, if I tell you what happened that night, do you think that they will hang me? And Asa Matthews, according to his testimony later, says, well, I can't guarantee anything, but the truth is that a man died, and you know why. And the truth has to come out. You need to be a good person and explain what happened that night. And de Wolf is like, but will they hang me? And Asa's like, doesn't matter. All that matters is that the truth is known. So Asa gives de Wolf a little time to think about it. Meanwhile, an autopsy is done on Mr. Stiles. They go through all this autopsy and everything.
By the coroner.
By Matthews as well as Dr. Haywood. And I believe there was a couple other guys who did it too. Like, I think it's a father-son team I think they're called the Graves, actually, which is perfect for a couple of doctors. But they do their autopsies, and they find blood pooling in different areas and blah, 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 blah. And look it up if you want to know what it is, because, it doesn't mean anything to me. It probably won't mean anything to you. But the long and short of it is they determine that he didn't die from hypothermia. He died from apoplexy due to strangulation. Now, nowadays, apoplexy would be like a stroke, which this one says apoplexy due to strangulation. It doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't stroke out because he was being strangled or something along those lines, but I feel like the terminology may be a little bit different because this is straight out of the transcripts from 1845. So it is strangulation or apoplexy due to strangulation. So now there's strangulation murder. Asa goes and brings this information back to de Wolf. This is just me assuming this. Goes back to de Wolf, lets him know. We found out that he was strangled, man.
Should have left the handkerchief alone.
What's the deal? So de Wolf says, I'll tell you what really happened there. I'll write a confession. I'll let you know everything that happens. And this is where the plot thickens. So, everything that we've said so far, Stiles and de Wolf went out on a spree together. De Wolf did bring a bottle of gin to Koblay's to give to the bartender. That is also in that testimony. The reason for de Wolf bringing that bottle of gin to Koblay's was because, I'm kind of working backwards, this is almost like Memento, is because Stiles was already really mad at de Wolf and had made mention that he hopes that he wanted to go to Koblay's that night, and he really hoped that he had gin there. And de Wolf wanted to please Stiles, and so he went.
This was a bar, and he didn't think he would have gin.
It turns out that they didn't actually have gin, according to de Wolf. That he brought his own gin, and he did pour it from the bottle and everything. But backing up further, the reason that they knew each other and Stiles was mad at him, at De Wolf, was because when they were boarding Stiles, or when the Stiles were boarding De Wolf, apparently, according to De Wolf's confession, Mr. Stiles forced Eliza Ann to sleep with De Wolf.
What?
In a biblical way.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Well, I didn't want you to think that it was okay for the time period. They all need to sleep in the same bed. It's January in Massachusetts. They might be having body heat things. So that was kind of a thing in a few years prior to that. But now he means like bumping uglies with his wife. So, but Mr. Stiles wanted this to happen. I don't know if
Did he though?
According to De Wolf, according to De Wolf, Eliza Ann said she didn't want to do it at first and was basically pressured into it by William Stiles, and she eventually did. But De Wolf said to her, "I have a bad disease, and we shouldn't do this." But she insisted because of Mr. Stiles.
Okay.
So I'm just telling you the facts. This is just the way it was written.
I'm listening.
So, Mr. Stiles has De Wolf sleep with his wife. His wife, in turn, gets this disease.
Yeah.
Which he then finds out that his wife has this disease.
What is this disease?
De Wolf says that Stiles is mad at him because, well, he says that if his wife is not cured within the end of the week, he would leave her by January. And
see, no, none of this adds up.
Hold on. He would leave her by January, or he would wade to his knees in blood to kill De Wolf for giving her the clap.
And the clap is gonorrhea, right?
Yes, I believe it is gonorrhea, which it got its name, the clap, because initially the treatment was to... if you had gonorrhea, they would, I don't know all of the details, but I know that they would effectively, to get the pus out of the penis, they would take it between their hands and they would clap it back and forth, just slap it. They would wring the pus out of the penis.
It would not in a pleasant way at all.
No. It's called the clap. I don't think it was...
it's very unpleasant.
It wasn't called the gentle milking. No, it's called the clap because apparently they would clap the penis roughly between their hands to break up any of the waxy pus that filled within there.
Fun times.
Yeah, so obviously Stiles didn't want to also have this added to his
health issues.
Yeah,
right?
his current health issues as they were. So he tells De Wolf that he's going to leave his wife by January if she's not cured. This is in like November.
You have 2 months to cure my wife. No,
he said you have till the end of the week or I'll leave her in January. So I don't believe she was cured. But
highly unlikely.
Right. But he decides that he's going to move out anyways. And so De Wolf leaves. But they stay in contact. The Stiles and De Wolf, they stay in contact.
Odd dynamic.
Well, he also says that the three of them had slept together quite a few times. But I don't know if that one is the body heat one or... I mean, I'm not yucking no one's yum, but I mean, like, did you know he had the clap while you... What? Whatever. Anyways, again, with this 1845, wild times. Wild times back then. But they, so De Wolf moves out. Eliza Ann had told De Wolf that Stiles was out to get him, possibly on the night of the spree. So... De Wolf was trying to do everything he could to make sure that Stiles had a good time. Because, like I said, Stiles had already said that he would be willing to wade through blood up to his knees to kill De Wolf. And now they're going out on a spree in January, the same month that he's supposed to leave his wife for not being cured of the clap, who supposedly also has a deal with de Wolf that upon Stiles' death, they would split his inheritance. So this is an important night. This is January 14th that all this is happening. So it could be Eliza is about to get divorced, which she wouldn't get any inheritance.
No, even though it's not much because he spent most of it, but still.
But also the property and everything too.
Yeah.
And Stiles is out to get de Wolf.
So de Wolf is now out to get Stiles.
Well, no, according to his confession, he just wanted to make sure that he was probably trying to win Stiles back over at this point. So they go to the bars.
Quote, win Stiles over.
Well, that's not actually a quote. That's my quote.
Air quote.
He's trying to make sure that he has a good time. So he brings him the gin, which also he said he got because he had the gin on hand because he was using it to cure a sick horse, which
what?
1845 was wild times.
Yeah.
So they go to the bars, they do all that. Everything there is all true. Now, where this deviates is that de Wolf claims that after him and Baldwin bring Stiles up into the loft, when Baldwin leaves and Stone shows up, he's complaining to Stone, who's a good friend of his. He's the guy who's been watching everything and moving everybody and all this stuff, right? He's complaining that he's like, Stiles is out to get me, and I really hope that he dies because of this intoxication thing because he's out to get me. And I wish he'd just die. I wish I could just give him enough alcohol that he would die. And Stone says, well, why would you want him to die? He's out. I mean, like, what's the issue? And de Wolf says, well, I owe him $50, which at the time is like $1,000, like $1,200. So Stone says, I'll kill him for half that. And de Wolf says, fucking deal, man.
Jesus.
Kill this dude.
Maybe you don't want this guy in your back pocket.
Well, I mean, you might want. He's a chief hitman. But this is what de Wolf says, is that he says, okay, I'll give you $25. You kill the guy. And I'm going to step out. Tell me when it's done. And that's what happens. Stone comes back out, says, job's done. When are you going to pay me?
Does Stone come back out and hand him the red handkerchief?
Well, it was presumed that he used the red handkerchief. So.
But did he had it in his pocket. De Wolf had it in his pocket.
It was unclear as to whether or not de Wolf was handed the handkerchief from that. He didn't put that specific detail that my story hinges on, but his confession did not at the time. All of this confession and everything would never go to trial because it was determined that Asa Matthews had supposedly coerced it from de Wolf, or that he had promised a lesser sentence based upon it, so they threw the confession out. What they didn't throw out of the case was the 2 letters that de Wolf had entrusted to Asa Matthews to deliver on his behalf, which were to Eliza Ann's father, telling him to tell Eliza to pack a bag and to run because they were after them, and that if they have him, that they're going to get her next.
Lock him up, throw away the key. What was the other letter?
I don't remember.
What?
I don't. I'm not going to go through the notes. It's fucking 9:00. But so it turns out that, but you're not going to say anything about the fact that Asa Matthews never delivered these letters and just pulls them out in the courtroom. That's probably why they were like, no, that confession ain't, no, dude, you didn't even deliver his letters.
No,
You're out for this
I
guy.
wouldn't have delivered the messages either. Like, no,
but
no.
But if you convince the guy that you're going to deliver those letters,
so
then you're going to probably also coerce a confession out of this kid.
Maybe that's not the same thing.
Oh, I'll deliver your letters. Oh, I never let him think that he wouldn't hang for this.
Okay, look, there's a certain degree of just not being honest there either way, but no, it's not the same. Come on.
All right, we'll say that Asa Matthews was like, I'll see what I can do.
I mean, one of them was possibly coercing him into confessing. The other one was just not delivering letters that he wrote himself.
And then pulling them out after he read them
to
the jury during his murder trial. That's not like, oh shit, I forgot to go to the UPS store.
Here.
I forgot to go. Oh man, I didn't have a stamp, so I didn't do it. He was like, no, I went, and as soon as you turned your back, I read it and was like, oh shit, this dude is totally telling Eliza she's got to run because she's totally behind all this shit.
Yeah. Orrin should have realized that. Come on now.
Well, we'll get to that part. Stone never gets accused of this other than through the confession, which also, if you read the confession in the book, it's redacted who he's actually saying
really
did it. Yeah, but the other players that were there at the same time, based upon everybody else, Stone's the only other person. Like Baldwin is mentioned, Haywood is mentioned, Matthews is mentioned. Stone's not mentioned, but he was there, and Stone admits that he was there. So it's like
it was him.
Yeah, it was him that he was being blamed, but they redacted it in the thing. So, anyways, almost all of this testimony has come from the prosecution. The defense tries to mount some kind of stance against it, trying to say that Stiles actually killed himself by strangulation.
No, he did not.
Because they bring in a few doctors who did an autopsy. They didn't actually do an autopsy on the full body. They were only provided the neck.
They cut his neck off and sent it to these guys?
They cut his neck and larynx out.
1845, wild times.
Wild times. They took they sent it to him. And guess what? Those doctors said, it's inconclusive.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh, we ain't got enough here. Where's the rest of his body? I don't know how he died. Was this lying next to him? Because
great, but
except for the fact that it's been removed.
Yeah, clearly there's some trauma there from that too.
Exactly. So, that's the way it reads to me, that they gave him only that. So, anyways, they didn't get that, and then they were saying it was inconclusive that he was actually strangled to death because they couldn't prove it off of that. But they still were trying to say that if it was strangulation, in fact, that it was because he had done it to himself. So they call in his old nurse who had helped him and his wife out with day-to-day stuff. The nurse that they brought in had said that on multiple occasions, in a drunken rage, Stiles would have fits and say that he wanted to die and try to strangle himself with his own hands, to the point that multiple people had to pry his hands from his throat to keep him from strangling himself to death.
All right, well, first off, this is kind of what happened with Marie Manning last week.
Correct.
But second of all, you really can't do that. You're going to pass out before you actually hurt yourself that bad.
Also correct.
So, I don't know.
Right, yeah, you can't strangle yourself to death with your bare hands because you will pass out. You can strangle yourself to death. You can hang yourself. If you can, there are ways to do it. I'm not trying to put any ideas in anybody's head, but yes, you can, but chances are you're not doing it with your own handkerchief on your neck or your bare hands. Not going to happen. Orrin de Wolf is quickly found guilty and sentenced to be hanged by the neck until dead.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Well, they have to specify.
Yeah, until you're dead. Yeah. Well, you know what? They didn't always.
I know. They started
hang from the neck until you're almost dead and then cut you down and do some other shit to you.
Well, yeah. Well, that's another story for another day. But yeah, they had to say until you're dead because sometimes they would cut you down and you weren't quite dead. And they were like, well, they did technically hang. Yeah, technically. They're like, sentence was fulfilled. But but he was sentenced to do so. Now, another cool thing that you can find online is that Harvard actually does have petitions to save him and have his sentence changed to life imprisonment instead, which was successful. The governor at the time did eventually change it to life in prison instead. And the petitions that, like I said, you can go online, you can see them there with the signatures from people from 1845, which again was a wild time. But wild times. They had put on there on the petitions at the top of it was that he shouldn't be hanged to death because he was a young boy who grew up in a bad family and was seduced by the wiles of a evil woman. Also, Eliza Ann never took the stand or got any blame for this either. So he took the brunt of it and apparently served out a life sentence. Anyways, that was mostly the facts that I could find in the story there. Another fun little thing that was in the transcripts. The defense was opened by Colonel Bullock in the...
Bullock?
Bulloch, Bulloch,
Oh.
in a pertinent and forcible manner, and then closed by Honorable B.F. Thomas in an argument 3 hours in length, which for eloquence and force of reasoning commanded the admiration of all who heard it.
Well, let's hear that one.
It's not included. I guess they were
Of course.
trying to save paper or something. They were just so dumbfounded by the power of his speech.
So they just made a point of saying it was so amazing.
It was so
eloquent, but
it was
we just
too much for the
down.
stenographer to get down. It was just, you can't capture it in words. It was a force of nature rolling
Guess
through the
that's
courtroom. Anyways, that does it for this episode of Macabrepedia. Please follow us, send us messages on all of our social media. If you are on Apple Podcasts listening, please give us a 5-star review and a comment as well. Apparently that is what matters most to the algorithm.
And we'll give you a shout out.
And we'll absolutely give you a shout out if we find it there. And we'll use your whatever name you have on there for that, unless you specify otherwise. But follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Macabrepedia.
We're also on Instagram at Macabrepedia Pod. And also, if you want to send us an email, we have a Gmail at macabrepediapod@gmail.com. And that is macabrepediapod@gmail.com.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening. Please join us next week as we enter another entry into this hour.
Macabrepedia.
Yeah, so just leave that. You can just whisper the whole damn thing now, man.